my experience in research working with interpreters, well, there's two ways. One was I used Aboriginal research assistants during the actual collection of the data, and they had quite a complicated role of both interpreting, mentoring and brokering cultural divides. So it wasn't purely an interpreting role, but they were crucial, and they were with me every step of data collection and were often involved in the checking and then the analysis of the data later on. And the other way that I used interpreters was almost as a form of triangulation. So once we had collected that data, which was in a mix of often English and then sometimes 2 or 3 Aboriginal languages on the one recording, I then took that away and sat with an interpreter and we worked our way through those recordings. But it was the same interpreter for all of those recordings, which you know, depending on the structure of your research, has both pros and cons, but I felt like the consistency of her worldview was essential for the integrity of our triangulation, because we had involved women in, you know, the cyclic checking of the data, and then we wanted someone to triangulate it back to. It was challenging because we were recording some Indigenous knowledge, particularly in language. There were some words that had become old-fashioned or outdated that even the interpreter had difficulty understanding. So often she would call a friend and discuss a particular terminology for us to really deconstruct what it meant. I felt working with the interpreter, even though I was paying for this particular service, it also was really dependent on our relationship, and I spent quite a lot of time investing in that relationship with her, because it was important that I honoured and she knew that the privileged place that I was in was one where I was respecting what the women were telling me. So yeah, we also spent lots of time drinking tea and having cakes and going for lunch in between doing our interpreting work. I think it's very important when you work with interpreters to understand the density of that intellectual work that they're going through, moving between languages and cultures, and how easily it is to tire. So we would have lots of frequent breaks, and sometimes we just had to do a half day because it was too much. It really is exhausting work for them.